We saw some news recently that Jim Rutherford's ready to work again in the league, former Pens GM. Okay, now he went on.
Didn't take long.
He went on the Cam and Strick podcast, which is Cam Jansen. Remember, former tough guy who used to fucking bang, dude, throw them things, and then Andy Strickland. And he had some interesting things to say. I got a clip here I want to play of Jimmy Rutherford talking about his time in Pittsburgh and some of the trades he made, because he was like trade heavy. He loved trade. He never saw a trade he didn't like to make. So I'll play this real quick and listen to this. I want to get your thoughts on these two clips. Back here.
And but I also make trades understanding that it should work for both sides, and sometimes it's not going to work for us. And I make a lot of trades, so I'm not going to get them all right. When I don't get one right, I'm not afraid to say it, and I move on. I move the player out in a different deal and move on. So as long as you're not trying to make trades to always win the trade, you can make enough trades to make your team better. And
okay, that was the first one. Let's think about that real quick.
I mean, whether you believe that or not, I don't think that's something you should say.
Jimmy,
you want to win every trade
Jimmy,
you make.
You want to crush the other general manager.
Yeah.
You want to find the franchise that is run by a stooge and take advantage and pick his pockets clean.
Yeah.
What are we doing? So you could see why the thought was, okay, maybe it's time
Is he
for a
past
fresh
it?
start in Pittsburgh. Now,
I just don't know what you get from saying something like that. You know what I mean?
I will say, to his credit,
I mean, I guess he's just telling the truth.
He is telling the truth, which he's known to do. And this is a long-held philosophy of his, because if you remember when Jordan Stahl was potentially coming up, he had 1 year left on his contract in Pittsburgh. He was traded to Carolina, right? Because his brother Eric played there. Jim Rutherford was the GM at the time of Carolina. Now, he could have waited till the end of the season, and everyone knew Jay Stahl was going to Carolina. It was not a well-kept secret. Everyone knew that was going to happen. He could have waited and signed him for nothing, but he didn't. He made a trade with Pittsburgh, and he gave them a first overall pick, the 8th overall pick, which ended up being Derek Pouliot. That didn't work out exactly very well.
No.
But he also included Brian Dumoulin, who at the time had been a second-round pick of Carolina, who became a very serviceable NHL defenseman. So, like, you give Rutherford credit for that as a Penguins fan.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if you're a Hurricanes fan, you're like, if this guy would have waited 12 more months, we get Stahl for free, and we get to keep Dumoulin.
Yeah.
And we get an 8th overall pick. Like, that should not be the mindset of your general manager.
That's the outlook of a fan, maybe.
That's good. That's good for the league.
Yeah.
Right? It's all fair, and we like to make things fair.
Yeah.
And there's a term in hockey, it's called a hockey trade. A hockey trade is when you trade two players for no prospects included. You're trading a guy from my roster to a guy from your roster, and both those guys are going to continue to play. They don't have to be up or sent down. Like, a hockey trade is a guy that can help a trade that helps out both teams in the short term and hopefully in the long term. Okay, so Rutherford, to his credit, did like to make hockey trades, but he also liked to give up first-round picks and assets from the Penguins organization, which you had to do. You had to do it at the time. I don't disagree with any of that, but he wasn't great at backfilling that. You get rid of the first-round picks, you can't draft the player, but you got to find other ways to bring in players to fill those minor leagues in those depth positions. This was the other thing.
Different guys that have their ideas, and you should try to get an extra pick, or you should try to get a second-round pick instead of a fourth, or whatever. And I said, guys, when you do these deals, it's got to be fair for both sides. Don't try to win a deal too bad. Try to make it fair for both sides. That doesn't always work out that way. Sometimes you lose a deal, sometimes you win a deal. But when you're making it, the important thing is that you think it's fair for both sides.
No, Jim.
Yeah, that's actually not what you're looking for.
You try and win the deal. You try and gouge the other GM
Take
for
what
an
you can
extra
get.
pick.
So you're telling me if someone offered this guy and they offered him and he goes, yeah, that's not fair for you, I'll throw in another guy. Like that's what I'm hearing.
I don't think it was to that level.
That's what it feels
but
like.
I think it was in a sense like, okay, we're going to make this trade. And his assistant GMs, he mentions Bill Guerin. There's a longer version of this clip he mentioned, and Bill Guerin and other assistant GMs and guys in the organization were like, well, Jim, we could probably get like a 4th rounder with that. Maybe even like a second if we push hard enough. And then Jim, that's not really fair. We don't want to take advantage. Yes, you do.
Yeah.
This is a cutthroat business.
And if you ask, what's the worst they can say? No.
Exactly. You want to pick their pockets. You want to wipe them clean, take everything they got, Jim.
That is wild.
When you got
my
a
friend.
championship window that is closing, like the Penguins one is, and potentially may have, who knows, you can't be playing fair and trying to make nice with everyone in the league. And that's what everyone says, Jim Rutherford's such a great guy. Well, of course he is. He's handing out party favors all over the league. Like, here we go. Like, come on, Jim. Let's figure that out. So after hearing that, it makes me feel a little bit better about that whole situation.
Yeah, makes
and him
sense.
stepping down and Ron Hextall taking over. Because I know Hextall.
Yeah,
Hextall ain't out
he's
to
cutthroat.
he ain't
dude.
out to play
So's
nice
Brian Burke.
and make
Brian
fair
Burke,
trades.
Brian Burke don't give a shit about anybody.
No, those guys want to win trades. Win, Gump. What are we doing? You think Sidney Crosby wants to hear about making trades fair for other teams and playing nice?
Yeah, we'll throw in a second rounder for you. You probably need it. This other guy stinks.